Welcome again, everyone, to another show of Your Past Does Not Define Your Future. Or does it? We often have to think about that because sometimes good things happen and it defines our future, and sometimes bad things happen and that defines our future. But like I said in my previous shows, we're interviewing some amazing women for everydaywomentv.com. And we are no exception today. Today we have a wonderful young lady who you'll be surprised at everything she's involved in and what she does. And she's going to share all her wisdom and insights with us. So, hi, Eddie. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me today. How are you?
I'm okay. You know, here in sunny Florida, it's pretty cool. So I'm okay with that. So, as you know, the show is about your past doesn't define your future. And you have had, for your young years, quite an interesting past. So, what part of your past, what part of your exciting life would you like to share with the audience?
Well, I think at every point in time, that I definitely took something out of, so I can do a fast version of timeline. So I moved into this country from a different country. So I'm here in the United States from a different country. Moved when I was 5. And my family used to have a business, so I got to tag along with them as a newbie to the country. So I got to ride along to the flea markets and do what I could to help as a child with family's business, which instilled a lot of everyday work ethic, which I think is important, especially in this world. At 10, I had a brother with a disability that was born, which kind of opened my eyes to a different kind of challenge in the world of just being born with a disability. You're not just born and, hey, you've got all this opportunity when you're born with a disability. It's a much different challenge. So that kind of opened my eyes to that. And then I, went to middle school, high school, and graduated a year early and went into the workforce and opened my own business. Lived in a van for a while, lived in a warehouse for a while, just to be able to open this business and have it thrive.
So that was one of the parts that I found interesting. So elaborate on that. You lived in a warehouse, you lived in a van, and how did you manage that?
So that was interesting. So, in your early 20s, late teens, when you don't have children and are kind of a little bit more flexible if you want to be and are willing to be. So my boyfriend, husband, and I at the time, we moved out. I was 17. We had a cute little apartment, and then we got married. I was 21, and we're like, we should open a business. I've been in the business world my entire life with my family, and I know that I want to have a business. And we started out in general merchandise on a wholesale level. So what we did was, we got married, kind of cooked for our own wedding, decorated for our own wedding, and we took like our $5,000-$6,000 worth of gifts and rented a warehouse. And then we kind of looked at each other and we're like, yeah, we can't afford to rent a warehouse and an apartment, so looks like we're moving into the warehouse.
Wow.
Yeah.
How newly married, moving into a warehouse, how did you manage with cooking and bathing and general hygiene and all that sort of thing?
So the warehouse had like a office which had the central air. So we had a futon and a desk, and it was couch by day, bed by night. We had like a microwave and like one of those like 2-burner like plug-in stove things. So basic stuff we can real quick make in the warehouse. So at the time, our warehouse was about 30-40 minutes away from the few family members that we had in the area. So we would give to a family members, to take a shower, do laundry, things like that. At one point, we were going to build a shower in the warehouse, but the landlord was not into that. So we
I
just,
bet.
checked it out.
Exactly. So from there, you went from your warehouse, you did your business, all that sort of stuff. What happened after that? How long did you live in this warehouse?
So we lived in the warehouse for about 6 months. We used to do the flea markets back then. So we would have to wake up at like 1-2 in the morning, drive the truck to the flea market, set up, and then we would usually be back to the warehouse around 1-2 in the afternoon. So we kind of just did that wheel and deal for a while, saved up some money, built the business to where at least it's making enough to sustain the warehouse and then pay for an apartment. And then we moved into a tiny little home studio. At the time, I think it was like $600 a month, and it kind of just went, we scaled it little by little, to the best of our ability, but it was a very, very long 6 months.
So what did you learn from that experience that you use today?
What I learned is that one, in business, when you're like in it, in the grip of it, it's hard. We all, in the big picture, a lot of us want to be entrepreneurs. A lot of us want to own our own business. And from the outside picture, it always looks like roses and gardens and butterflies.
Right.
But when you're actually in it, you realize, wow, okay, you're the last one to get paid. And, like, to build a business is very challenging. And I guess for me, what I learned is being persistent, yes, being willing to make sacrifices to be able to, scale to the next level. In this case, I was very young and I was willing to make the sacrifice of living in a warehouse. Not saying everyone should do that. I'm just saying that if we make
it worked for you, yes.
Build to the next, then the reward on the other side is not only being able to achieve a goal that you set your self for, but it really does keep you, in my opinion, humble and appreciative of what it took to get to that level. You always have to kind of remember that all these things you had to sacrifice to get to where you are, regardless of if you're a small business, big business, just making ends meet, millionaire status. We all came from somewhere, and those sacrifices is truly what builds our character.
Agreed, 100%. There are a lot of people that have done what you've done in their lifetime. I know there are some famous people that have been homeless and living off the streets and all that sort of thing, and now they're multimillionaires. So it's not an unusual thing, but it is, like you've said, it is a sacrifice and it is the discipline. So where are you today? Where are you now with your business?
So where I am now, so I was able to acquire my own warehouse, so I no longer have to rent a warehouse. I also, 5 years or so ago, opened a retail location that kind of works hand in hand with the warehousing, wholesale, corporate gifting location. And so that's kind of build up of the original business that we started, but then we've also been able to, acquire some real estate ventures. We've also just acquired a new business for landscape lighting and outdoor lighting. So kind of, even though I'm still very focused on my original main business, we're also expanding our ventures, if you will.
Right, exactly. So you've expanded this, and your retail store sells perfumes and other things as well, which are excellent. But in the meantime, while you've been building up those businesses and while you've been making those sacrifices, you had twins. So how do you manage twin boys and running a business, being a mother, and all the involvement you have in your local community? Because I know you're heavily involved in your community with, with your kids, getting involved in all of the parenting things that you do with children at schools and everything. And I know you're involved in the community with a couple of the commissioners and things like that. How do you balance all of that? And again, I say, especially with twin boys.
Yeah, so me and my infinite wisdom opened my retail store when my twin boys were 5 or 6 months, and I was still breastfeeding and totally not focused on a retail location. But the location just had good vibes. It was warm and fuzzy, and so I just jumped off the cliff and said, all right, let's do it. But so my twin boys are almost 5 now, and although they're super active and they're boys and they're crazy, and it's a very fun age where you can talk to them and try to negotiate a deal and hopefully with them. So I would say it's not as challenging as like the newborn stages. But they're in full-time daycare VPK now. I'm very, very fortunate to have an amazing husband that is very much a part of being in their day-to-day life. So I am not doing it on my own, and I'm extremely grateful for how involved he actually is and wants to be. But like you said, it is just balancing. It's trying to you kind of have to be strict with yourself, because you can find networking events 7 days a week, all day, every day, till crazy hours in the morning. Time. Kind of just have to find not just where you fit in on a personality level, because you're always with a group of people, but where you feel the most comfortable, where you feel like you can thrive the most, where you feel like you can help the most. And really, yes, we all have to work for a living. Yes, we all have bills to pay, but we don't want to be slaves to those businesses, because ultimately it's the fun out of it. So if you find, whether it be networking or whatever it is that you're doing to build and work your businesses, you just have to be very specific to yourself of, hey, these hours that I can give because I want to be home with my kids at such and such, or for whatever the activity is, and just fit your schedule within that specific time that you set for yourself, because if not, you can just spin everywhere.
Right. So it's working a schedule, and I've had conversations with other people that I've interviewed as well, and it is discipline on your schedule, and also the boundaries that you set yourself as well, so that people don't overstep those boundaries. So with those boundaries that you have with running your retail, running your wholesale, getting involved in other entrepreneurship that you have, and also the twins, when do you and your husband get time for each other?
Well, that's the $1 million question. So again, my husband's super involved. So nighttime is kind of like we all sit down. I make it a point to sit down to eat dinner together, because I never had that growing up. So we kind of have like family time, the whole dinner, bath time, bedtime. That's still a work in progress as far as quality time, like marital quality time, just because with twins, so the twins are my only children. I don't know what it's like to have a single child. So with my twins, you put them to bed and they've got each other to keep each other company. They're not just like bored in bed and eventually fall asleep. Like they will keep going and going. And so bedtime is challenge even at 5. So sometimes my husband has to just like sit in the room and referee, and sometimes just falls
Right.
asleep in there, and it's like, okay, time to come, you know. So that's still, we do, you know, I make it a point to do a date night at least once a month. You know, you genuinely, it sounds awful, but like you have to put it in your schedule. And I know we all about these things when we watch it in the movies, but it really is just figuring out what's important to you. So quality time. Okay, well, I want to see my husband.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to go to bed with the twins all the time. And, you know, so I make it a point to schedule our dinner or a concert or whatever, and find a sitter, ask a family member, whatever your situation is. And you have to make the time. That's usually the answer to everything. If you don't make the time, you'll never have the time.
Exactly. And you mentioned something which is absolutely what this show is about, which is your past does not define your future. And you said something exactly that way, which is you make a point of sitting down, having dinner with the family because you never had it. And these are the things that I talk about is, do you repeat the pattern of the model that you grew up with, or do you change the pattern of the model that you grew up with? And that's what you just did. You just changed one model, one pattern of how you grew up to how you want to have a family unit here and now. So a lot of things carry on, and this is what I say is, what happens to you in the past, you can either change, repeat, or do something new. And that's what you did. You did something new. And anyone can do that. Anybody can. But you are a character that has a lot of character, a lot of drive. And like you said, you just bite the bullet to do things, you know, sleep in warehouses, buy other businesses, look at what's going on, and live life to the absolute fullness of every minute. You're doing something that pleases you, your family, your business, and everything else. How do you get time for you? Do you get any me time, any alone time?
So that kind of goes back to the same answer, right? If you don't make the time, you'll never have the time. So I think for, you know, for a lot of people, it definitely opened our eyes to things that we were missing in life. But what I've done personally is say, okay, well, once a month, I'm going to go get that 1 hour massage. I don't care if I have to schedule it while my boys are daycare, VPK. I'm already paying for it. So I'm going to take that 1 hour and do that once a month massage. Or I'm going to take twice a week to go to the gym. Or I'm, you know, whatever it is that you want to do or that you feel would best benefit you for yourself, mental space, yoga class, whatever does it for you. But again, for me, you don't make the time, you'll never have the time. So you first have to pinpoint what that is, what the thing is that you really want to do, and just figure out where to put it. And if it's on
So,
my calendar, it's gonna happen.
right. Yeah, I'm the same. If it's not in my calendar, it doesn't happen. Um, and the calendar rules everything. I've known you for a few years now, and I've got to say that you are mostly, I would say most of the time, very focused and happy most of the time. And I know that's an unusual thing to say, but a lot of people get stressed over a lot of things. You don't seem to have that stress that you outwardly show, whereby, you know, you've got the twins, you've got several businesses, you've got your community involvement, you've got your family, your extended family, you've still got your brother with the special needs, all of these things. But outwardly, you always look as though you're never tired and you're always involved and always ready to help out. Because I know that We have mutual friends where you've helped out, and even in my situation when I was going through my thing with my husband, you were there also. So how do you maintain that level of seeming that you don't have this, or are you the swan? You're looking serene on the top, but underneath you're doing all of this.
I definitely was not always this way. So this kind of highlights, like you said, the purpose of the show, where certain experiences in life kind of teach you different things. So the past me of maybe 15 years ago was the person that would hold a grudge if you did something to them. I would never forget it. Like, it would just like sit there and weigh me down, and I was never able to let it go. And like, I was the very, I took everything personal. Like, you said something to me and like I would cry and, oh my God, she doesn't like me. And, like, I would just be very sensitive. So
Right.
for me, that changed is my father had a heart attack and he was 48. And I flew to another state where I was at the time and lived in a hospital lobby for 3 months. And then I put him on a medical flight and brought him back to the state in which we both lived, where 2 months later he ended up passing away. And the domino effect of that is, the family drama with the money and the life insurance, and and then I had my children, and there was some more family drama. And I think going through those specific experiences and of course everyone's different, but that was a big eye opener for me, because I'm like, I didn't know my family was this way, that way, or I didn't, like, you just see so much ugly in
Right.
certain things that happen in life. And that was kind of like a light bulb, which took me a few years to kind of absorb, get over, but it kind of hardened me a little bit, in the sense that once I accepted the situation and said, you know what, I'm not going to change who I am. I'm going to still call you, even though you don't want to talk to me. I'm going to still, be the person that I want to be and sleep good at night. And God forbid something happens to you, I know that I did everything in my power, regardless of your choices. And it kind of put me in a position where, of course, I always strive to never hurt anybody or never, feel stressed out over, I just genuinely, my intention is to always do the right thing. I'm human, of course, we all mess up, but my intention is to sleep good. I never put myself in a position where I'm stressed out because I might have said something or wronged somebody, or at least not intentionally. And I think that kind of made me more of a swan, as you put it, because it kind of just, when you're overall, for me, when I overall know that, okay, I didn't intentionally hurt people, I'm doing what I can to be a great person in the world, I like helping people, and I can't control what I can't control. And it took a big thing in my life, because I was very close to my dad, to become this versus what I was, 10 years ago. So.
And that's an excellent way to explain it, and it's a good way to end the show with the fact of the learnings that you had from experiences that you had, and for such a young age, and what you've accomplished in that space of time, and how the wisdom that you have and the knowledge that you have because of your experiences. And I think the audience is going to get a lot out of that, because I'm sure a lot of them can relate to you, especially the younger ones, and even the older ones that have got daughters and sons that they can relate to, because we all go through different things at different points in our lives. And sometimes it takes us till we're later on in life before we learn. But if we learn earlier, then we have a better, longer, happier way that we feel things. And I see you and your husband together and the children together and everything. And the way that you have developed that family unit and that business unit and everything is unifying and a pleasure to see. So I thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. And I'm hoping that the audience are going to give us some feedback and share their experiences also. We get a lot of feedback from the shows, and I don't think this show is going to be any different. So thank you so much for coming in. And if anyone wants to know what the retail store is, it's Perfume Outlet, which is on the Zoom link here, and we'll also put the link in there. And I know that she also sends it out to everywhere because we've had this experience already, and she's very, very knowledgeable about the different smells and different perfumes and all that sort of thing. So again, thank you for that. Everyone, again, another show. Thank you for tuning in. Me, Helen Vella, signing off again, remembering that mindset is the key to transformation.